Hi, my name is Dejanay Truitt, and these are my responses to the counterproductive and counterproductive behaviors assignment. So the first question is, how have recent events affected the course of research in organizational psychology? And to give an example of an event and the resulting outcome. So the event that was given in the book, first off, recent historical events have affected the course of research in organizational psychology by making them find ways to implement strategies to stay on top of things and be more prepared. So according to Jackson Britt, what they brought up in the textbook is when Al-Qaeda sent Islamic terrorists to crash planes into the World Trade Center, also known as 9/11. And this event caused many organizations to create ways to be more prepared. Even the United States as a whole, it made it to where even, our country made ways to be more prepared. Another recent historical event that I can bring up myself is COVID-19, which is a really big one for our country and even all over the world, that made people create ways to be more prepared, to be more efficient. So they created strategies like, for one, the vaccine, making it to where people would get the vaccine, just like when the flu came out and the swine flu and H1N1, and we ended up having to get vaccinations for that. But COVID was worse. COVID had the country shut down for a year or two. You had to wear a mask everywhere you went, and if you didn't have a mask, you couldn't even come into a building. So that was even ways that they prepared. Making sure everyone had masks, and then making vaccines for some companies mandatory, being that they didn't want employees to be out sick due to COVID-19, which at one point the quarantine for it was 7 to 10 days. So they created those strategies to be more prepared. And even now, as you go into different emergency rooms, you have to answer questions like, have you been around someone who had COVID within the last week or so, or do you work in a job that you may be more prone to getting COVID-19, or even questions like, do you have COVID-19 symptoms? And they have you list those different symptoms that you may have. And sometimes if you mark that you do have COVID or you do have the COVID symptoms, they put you in an isolation room so that you don't get any other person sick in the emergency room, which is a great strategy that was implemented. But I'm sure a lot of research from IO psychologists had to go into that, making sure that these things were effective for the particular hospital or organization or wherever. Another event that I can speak on, even as a teacher, is school shootings. It has made schools be more prepared, come up with different strategies to be more prepared, rather. For instance, teachers now, most counties have implemented badges to where teachers have to wear them so that in case of an emergency, they press the badge and the badge alerts different first responders, and they come. Instead of it alerting the front office or whatever, it automatically alerts these first responding companies so that if anything is going on, they can rush to the school to figure out what it is. Another thing that was implemented for some schools is wearing clear backpacks to make sure students are not bringing anything illegal into the schools. And then sometimes I know that when that didn't work, they implemented metal detector. So if they didn't put in their book bags but maybe had it on their person, when they walk through the metal detectors, it detects it, alerts security, and then of course they have to be searched, and anything that is not appropriate for school has to be taken off of their person. And ultimately they could also be sent away from the school ultimately. So that is even a recent historical event that has kind of affected the course of research in organizational psychology. So the next question is, describe the socialization process for graduate students in your program, and is the program successful in socializing newcomers and creating job embeddedness? So first off, according to Jackson Britt's organizational socialization represents the process by which an organization or an individual makes the transition from an outsider to an insider. And basically, the socialization process for graduate students in my program consists of making sure that students have, number one, the adequate prerequisites. We had to be we had to ask questions or even get transcripts transferred to Liberty University to let them know that we have our bachelor's degree. We've taken certain courses that would align with the master's degree that we wanted to take. And the admissions team is awesome in socializing graduates, in my opinion, because they send out emails, letters, phone calls, to make sure that all the things that are on the particular checklist that we had to do had gotten done. So have we applied for our classes? Have we applied for FAFSA? Have we gotten our classes paid for? Have we gotten our books? I know they ask questions like, have you done your master promissory note if you were a graduate student? Because of course graduate students don't receive Pell Grant. Lots of things were done by the admissions office that was wonderful for me to even stand on top of me as a procrastinator to make sure my things were in order. Another way that I think is really good for the socialization process of Liberty University is the discussion post, especially the introduction discussion post that we did at the beginning for most classes was really good. Learning that there are other graduate students who are coming from different career paths. I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, but I am transitioning over into IO psychology. But to see that there were other people who are coming out of certain professions into this profession was great to know, to see that there's different ages from young to way older people who are transitioning into this profession or just now wanting to go back to get their master's degree, people who are parents and have jobs that are still doing this. Was great to know that there are other people who can relate to the situation that I am in at the moment. That was great. Even the discussion post that we have to do weekly about the materials that we've learned is great, because you see how other people process the information and how other people may process the information differently than what I did. I think is great. And as far as is the program successful in socializing newcomers and creating job embeddedness, I think it is. Number one, I can say, Liberty's graduation rate is over 50%, which is wonderful for a grad program. So of course it's creating that job embeddedness, and it's socializing newcomers because it's making people stay and making people graduate. It creates job embeddedness by making sure that we have what we need before we go out. As an IO psychology major, a lot of things that I had to take are, geared around that, making sure I have the necessary means to go out and get a job afterwards. So I have to take classes for human resources, ethics, the IO psychology course itself, the research methods, so that I can, know how to navigate SPSS and more. The next question is, how can an organization reduce or prevent work-family conflict? So first off, work-family conflict can exist for anyone who has a home and has a job. So basically, it is a struggle of balancing work and home. This can be a problem with having to work long hours, come home and take care of your children, your husband or wife, having to balance the children's sports and organizations that they're in, different skills that they want to take up, or whatever it may be that causes kind of a conflict between the two. For singles, this can be balancing working long hours and not having time to come home and relax or spend time with family or spend time with friends. And basically, an organization can reduce or prevent work-family conflict by having different work-family policies in place. And according to Jackson Bricks, these policies can benefit. These policies are called, work-family policies, as I emphasized before, and they refer to all efforts by an organization to help employees successfully execute work and non-work roles such as elder care, parenting, education, volunteering, or self-care, such as exercising or visiting the doctor. These policies make it easier for employees to balance work and home. These policies can range from giving employees the choice to work from home if need be, especially for parents. If you have a sick child, or maybe school is out one day and you can't afford to pay a daycare or anything like that, you can just work from home, be able to take care of your children and work at the same time. Other things like having daycare on the campus of the job, so that if kids are out of school or you have young children, they can be at a daycare that is on the facility, and make it to where they don't have to pay out of their pocket for it, because of course as a parent we all know that daycare can be very expensive. Giving benefits like health insurance for them and their family that is not expensive, or maybe that is even paid for. A good time off policy, allowing them to have a certain amount of PTO, so that if they have to take off for any reason, that they are still getting paid in the process of it. And I always refer back to the company called Navy Federal Credit Union. Here in the city that I live in, we have a huge Navy Federal campus, and a lot of people work there that I know, and they always rave about how the work family policies are incredible. And some of them don't know that it's work family policies, but as I've taken my class, and I let them know, those are some great work family policies that you all have there, because it makes them not want to leave their job. They have a gym there, they literally have a doctor on campus, they have a doctor's office that they can have regular doctor's visits while they're at work, which is wonderful. They have a daycare facility, they have a food court there, so they don't have to leave to go get food. They have healthier options, and whatever they need there. They also have massage chairs so that they can relax, they can kind of take a little break. They have benefits to where they can work from home if whenever they need to. They can work at least 3 days out of their 5-day work week at home, which is wonderful. And this is great. This is a way to prevent that work family conflict. When they have these different means of reciprocation, really, it's like, you work for us and you're doing what needs to be done to meet the goals that we give you and to perform your job duties. So in return, we're going to give you these certain things so that you won't have to worry about being stressed, coming to work and having to do what is needed to be done for the company. The next question is, imagine you have been asked to develop a performance assessment program for employee development. What techniques would you use to adequately evaluate employee performance as comprehensively as possible? So if I was asked to develop a performance assessment for employee development, there are a few techniques I would use to adequately evaluate employee performance as comprehensively as possible. The first thing I would do is to make simulations for the employees, and I would create the simulation to where it looks just like the environment they would usually work in. Whether they're on a phone call, whether they're having to do things with their hand, whatever it is, I will create a simulation that looks just like that job duty. But the simulation wouldn't just be a normal work day. It will be, you're under a time crunch. There's a schedule that has to be met, a schedule that has to be followed. You're under high pressure right now because you don't have as much time to finish what is needed to be finished. If it's customer service, customers are yelling at you, and that you have to meet a certain quota for that day. So it would not only give the employers a chance to give constructive criticism, but also see how these employees work under pressure. And after they give the constructive criticism, they can see how that employee takes to that constructive criticism. Are they going to get upset? Are they going to act as if they don't need their help? Or, whatever else that's around that area, and also it allows them to say, I'm going to give this constructive criticism, and then allow the employees to go back into the simulation and do it again. Different situation, but same, criteria that's going to be put into it, the same high pressure and all of that. But now they get to use the constructive criticism that the employees gave them, and the employer can see if they're going to use that advice that they gave them the next time they go through the simulation and actually nail it. Another thing I would do is job skills test, but not the normal job skills test, because of course it's easy to get to take a questionnaire and say, hey, do you know how to work Microsoft? And then you just click yes. Hey, do you know how to work SPSS? And you click yes. But to have afterwards, have them mark those things that they say that they're skilled in, and then take them directly to a questionnaire that asks them different questions that pertain to that exact thing that they said that they are skilled in. That way, they're not, being untrustworthy, but they're able to back up their claim of saying, hey, yeah, I do know how to do this specific skill, and prove that they know how to do it. Not only would it allow the employees to know what they're good at and what they're skilled in, but it'll also show them if they are hiring a they are hiring or hired a trustworthy employee. The next question is, what are some possible common organizational constraints and how could they lead to counterproductive behaviors? Some possible common organizational constraints are not being treated fairly, and also not having adequate resources to perform the job that they are, hired to perform. Counterproductive behaviors, according to Jackson Briggs and according to Professor, are behaviors that do not line up with what the organization stands for. These behaviors include productive deviance, which is basically I'm not going to do the job, purposely not performing to the best of your ability. Sabotage, which is deliberately being destructive or obstructing something, whether it's sabotaging a fellow coworker or whatever that may be. Theft, which is, stealing from the organization. Withdrawal, which is kind of stepping back from the tasks that they're supposed to perform. Abuse towards others, whether physically or verbally. And things like not being treated fairly could lead to the things like theft, production deviance, sabotage, withdrawal, and abuse. Theft, because they may feel that someone who doesn't work as hard as them is getting paid more than them, so they decide, okay, I'm gonna take because I deserve it anyway. And then you have production deviance, because they may feel as if they're not valued. So they feel, okay, I'm not being treated fairly, I'm not valued, therefore I am just not going to perform the job at all. If you can't see that my job, that my ability to work hard or my ability to perform this certain task is great, enough to move up the ladder just like someone else, then I just won't do it. Then you have they may sabotage the person that they feel is being treated better than they being treated better than they are. They might withdraw because they feel like they're not being valued, and then they might become abusive verbally, of course, because they feel that this person is being treated better than them and they're working harder than them. So they might try to make that person feel, that they're inadequate. And then not having the proper resources can also cause production deviance, because they feel that because the company is not giving them what they need to work, they just won't do the job. And it also may cause withdrawal, because they may feel at a certain point that they're not giving me what I need in order to do my job, so I'm just gonna step back a little bit, I'm gonna take a back seat, not realizing that it could also affect the company if they just don't do nothing either. So these are all of my responses to the assignment. I hope that they are clearly, I hope that what I said was clear. And yeah, have a great night.